title of this presentation today is Social Sales for ISOs, how to use social media to win business. Social media is really, really important to any business now. We'll get into some of the statistics and so forth that kind of show you why it's so important. But I figure here we'll dive in. And before we get started, make sure that you follow Pearl Capital. Right? Pearl Capital is active on social. They've been aggressively diving in to the medium for a long time now. And as you see, this is just a sample of their social media accounts. So they're taking the approach of be where their customer is, and the customer being you. And so they're trying to be as useful as possible. One of the things I've noticed over a few months that Pearl Capital and us here at FinServe Marketing, and I'll tell you a little bit about what my firm does in a few seconds, but one of the things I've noticed that they're doing a fantastic job of is really educating the ISO population. They're sharing all sorts of interesting stuff, whether it's related to your business at large or social media marketing or other things that are going to help you with your business. So whether you choose to consume content on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or even Instagram, they're sharing some really high quality stuff. So do check that out. They also have a nascent YouTube channel where they're starting to populate some videos there. The YouTube URL hasn't been customized yet, so I didn't share that here. But do give a good shout out to Grant Pastor. You'll see his name down here at the bottom of the screen. Grant is the gentleman who runs all of the social media programs there at Pearl Capital, and he's doing a fantastic job, and he's been a great partner with us as we've been getting this initiative here, this webinar initiative started. As I mentioned at the beginning, my name is Mike Langford. I'm the CEO of FinServe Marketing. FinServe Marketing is a digital marketing agency, and we work with financial services companies, and we typically find our best work working with companies that have distributed populations of touch points of advisors, wholesalers, agents, salespeople, like many of the people on the call here that are in the lending industry, right? So anytime there's a distributed touch points, many people in the organization might be interacting with the end customer. That's who we typically work with. I've been in the industry now for 22 years. I came up through State Street and Fidelity Investments. I started my own investment firm prior to this. So I've kind of been at the forefront of a lot of the adoption of social media and many other technologies for the financial services vertical, and I'm really, really passionate about social media in particular for what it does for us as financial professionals and how it allows us to connect with and serve our clients, and in your case, those are the merchants. So let's dive in to the opportunity. I spent a little bit of time there kind of showing you how you can connect with us and so forth, but I think where it really gets powerful is understanding how this is going to help you in your business. What's the scale of this thing? A few years ago, I was the head of social strategy for a firm that helped financial services companies allow their advisors and agents and so forth to use social media and do so compliantly, right? So financial advisors are highly regulated. Everything that they post has to be archived and it has to be supervisable by a compliance officer. Much more constrained for those types of professionals than for the average individual. And one of the objections or the concerns that I would get from a financial professional, it almost never failed, was my clients are not on social media. They don't spend any time on social media. Most of my clients are early retirees, or they're really wealthy people, or they own businesses, whatever it is. There was always some level of skepticism that social media would be an effective medium for them. And it turns out that's just not true, right? It's particularly not true now. If we look at this chart we have here of monthly active users on each of the major social networks that many of them you're likely familiar with, many of them you may use personally, or family members certainly of yours use personally, you'll start to see that these numbers are just breathtaking. I mean, 1.65 million people use Facebook on a monthly basis. That's unique. So that's not cumulative, the same people repeating type of thing where it adds up. This is 1.6 billion people. That's the population of China. Right? It literally would be the first or second largest country in the world if Facebook were a nation. And when we stop and think about that, how impactful that is, it's a little mind-boggling, right? That you can reach any human being you want to potentially via this one channel. Right? So we know that people are spending a lot of time looking at Facebook. A billion people are consuming stuff on YouTube. In fact, YouTube is often referred to as the second largest search engine on the web, because more and more people go to YouTube instead of just going to Google. They'll go to YouTube and Google, type in, search, I say Google, right? They'll go to YouTube and they'll type in, how do I do this? Or I'm looking for this solution. And inevitably, you'll find some really good solutions on YouTube. And the thing about YouTube is it's not just a place for videos. It actually is a social network with all the comments and the engagement, and you can follow people there. It's a very vibrant social network. And we go on down the list here, and we'll dig into these numbers and what they mean more specifically for you and your business. But the key here is, and I think this is one of those Captain Obvious statements, but it bears stating anyways, right, is that a social network, what makes it social is your ability to connect with others, their ability to share things freely, and others' ability to interact with what they shared, right? My first big aha moment when it came to social media was when I joined LinkedIn. I'm user 176,000 on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn now has, as you see in this chart, 107 million monthly active users. There's over 300 million users in total. Not all of them use it every month. But I was really early. The first couple of months that the platform was unveiled, I was on it. And it's nothing special about me. I just happened to be early. A friend of mine told me about it. But my big aha moment came when I realized, like, this is subscribing to people's resumes. That every time somebody changes their resume, I'm going to get an update. And not only that, I'll never lose touch with somebody ever again. Let that sink in for a second. Imagine never losing touch with any high-quality individual that you've interacted with over the course of your career. If you're somebody who's in their 30s or 40s, you've likely met hundreds, if not thousands, of high-quality professionals over the course of your career. Even dating back to your college and even high school days, you know people who have started businesses, who have gone on to be successful, or serial entrepreneurs constantly starting something new. And many of those people you lost touch with before social media was available. Because unlike email, which can change from company to company, or phone numbers, which can change from company to company, and when people move around the country, your social media profile kind of follows you, right? So you constantly have this really easy pipeline into what's happening with these individuals that you've interacted with over time. So it's fantastic. Never lose touch with anybody again. Social networking leads all categories in engagement, right? This is what we said, what the verbiage says here. But the notion of that 20% of all time online is spent on social networks really hits at the importance of social media for your business. Where are the eyeballs, right? When we want to market our business, when we want to engage with our customers and our prospects and our referral partners, we want to be where those people are. The truth is, not everybody is out there using Google looking for your solution. And not everybody is sitting around and willing to pick up the phone for a cold call from somebody that they don't know. And frankly, many of us, now that we're using our mobile phone as our primary phone, we don't answer the phone at all. And they don't even check, many people don't even check their voicemail. And in fact, there was I believe it was a Pew study a year or so ago that said many people in the millennial generation, see phone calls as rude. That you're interrupting me. I would rather you text me or you interact with me via social. That they would preferred text-based, asynchronous type of communication, so that they can control the efficiency of that conversation. They can control when they reply to you and so forth. So there's a whole population of people, and millennials now are business owners, right? They're not young kids coming out of high school anymore. They're in their 30s, many of them. So these people have a new framework, and that's stretching up through all demographics of age groups. Boomers and seniors are some of the fastest growing adopters of social media. I know my parents and my in-laws are always on Facebook in particular. So know that your customers are there. Merchants are using it for their business, and they're using it personally. So just know that this is where you're going to find people a great deal of the time. So where are people using social media for business? This was really interesting. This is 2 slices of data here. So first, the Inc. 500. And if you're not familiar with the Inc. 500, the Inc. 500 is a list of the 500 fastest growing private companies in America, assembled by Inc. magazine. And they have a bigger list of Inc. 5000. But there was a study done for 2015, actually, I think. It might have been at the beginning of 2016, but it was 2015, I believe, was when they actually looked at the companies. That 93% of them, of these companies, are using LinkedIn for business. Right? So they have a company profile on LinkedIn. 82% on Twitter, excuse me, on Facebook, and 79% on Twitter. So really ubiquitous almost, to the point of it. You're really surprised, like, where are these 7% that aren't on LinkedIn? Like, how are these businesses so successful and they're not leveraging some of the most powerful connection mediums in the history of mankind? Even if it's just for recruiting, right? Where are you going to find high quality talent? There was another study done by Social Media Examiner. They did an independent survey, and they said, well, let's look at these smaller businesses. So the majority of them had 10 or fewer employees at the company, and on that, 93% of them are using Facebook, 71% LinkedIn, and 79% Twitter. So pretty consistent there with the Inc. 500. But what was most jumped out at me when I read that study was the fact that B2B and B2C vendors worked a little bit different in terms of how they saw the network's importance to their business. Now, many of you likely market to B2C. So for instance, you may be doing more loans with B2C merchants than you do with B2B merchants. Now you, in your business, you're clearly a B2B. So what I like about this is it kind of shows, hey, listen, B2C vendors spend a lot more time on Facebook than B2B. Right? Just because they're on, they're equally on Facebook, 93% of all small businesses are using Facebook, doesn't mean they're using it as much. And what you want to do for your business, when you start thinking about interacting and engaging with people, you want to be on the network where they're spending most of their time, right? So where do we find somebody if they run a B2C, if they run a store or something that caters to consumers, if they have a restaurant or anything like that, make some sort of personal service like a gym owner or what have you, chances are if they're B2C, they're spending an inordinate amount of time on Facebook and other what you would consider consumer-facing social media channels. That might include Instagram, that might include the Snapchats of the world. We're not doing much with Snapchat here. But if you're looking to deal with businesses that do a lot of B2B work, LinkedIn is seen as the most important network. Not, almost equal to Facebook, but it makes sense, right? A lot of professionals are on LinkedIn. They see it as their professional network, so they're spending a lot of time there, and they're using it a little bit differently too. On LinkedIn, people are using the network more for what you would consider hardcore old school lead gen, right? Asking for referrals, using it to navigate that 6 degrees of separation that LinkedIn is built on so that you can find who knows who and you can get into a company and help sell that company and so forth. So it's a more enterprise-like relationship. So keep that stuff in mind as you approach your social strategy. Now, I mentioned earlier that one of the objections I would get, and I thought I'd bring this data in from the work that I've done with financial advisors, is one of the objections that is often raised is that, my clients don't use social media. They're not spending a lot of time there. They're wealthy. They're successful. They're not wasting time with Facebook and taking pictures of their sandwich and what they have for lunch with people and all that type of jazz. Not true, actually. Very actually untrue. Now, they may use it differently, but even the whales, right? In doing my research for this presentation, I found that many of the loans that are made are to smaller businesses, smaller merchants, and they're in the tens of thousands of dollars category versus the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars category. But it's not 100% uncommon to have very large loans, be dealing with larger businesses, right? Everybody has cash flow needs. Everybody has different business things going on, right? And they use different vendors for different things. So what this tells me is that, listen, we look at this data. It was done by a Spectrum Group, did this study, and they looked at affluent millionaires and ultra-high net worth individuals and how they use mobile and social media. And so it's really great data here. Half of all mass affluent are willing to read a blog post made by a financial professional on Facebook. So think of Facebook as, the most commonly used social network. You can write quick little articles on your own, original content, publish that, and share it, and people will read it. People that you're connected with that are in your professional network will read your blog posts on Facebook, and they'll read it other places as well. 24%, I love this one, of the ultra high net worth, so these are people that are worth $10 million or more, 24% of ultra high net worth individuals look at how much a financial professional or a financial firm has shared on social media before they make a decision. 60% of them are consuming video. 50% of them are using Facebook, and a good deal of those use it 2 to 5 times per day. So it's no longer this thing where it's just young kids playing and sharing pictures, and it's not, all the stuff that we joked about with Candy Crush and Farmville back in the day and lunch pictures. People are getting real value out of social media, and they're getting real value as business people, and before they make decisions, it makes sense, right? We've always made decisions and consulted our network. How many times before you've decided to use a vendor for something have you asked somebody, does anybody know a good gardener? Does anybody know somebody who can help me? I need a babysitter, or whatever that is, or more professional, I need a new CPA, right? We all do that. We all consult our network. So it only makes sense that people would turn to new technologies that allow them to tap their social network to research and look into things before they make a purchasing decision. So let's talk a little bit about the urgency now. So that was what I would call the carrot approach, like why is social media so great and powerful for your business? And I think many people on this webinar probably know the answer to that. You already kind of had the idea it was important, hence the reason why we had such a large attendance here today. But there's some urgency that's particularly relevant to ISOs right now, and we're calling it the Google effect. Now, before the Google effect went in, before Google decided to change some rules and proclaim short-term loans and those with high APRs are kind of the bane of the world's existence, even before that, it was very expensive to run ads, right? The cost of acquisition was pretty high even before this. But now suddenly a big company like Google coming in and saying, we control a huge chunk of the ad space online, and we decide that these types of ads are no longer palatable for our platform. And that follows on with Facebook also has constraints for their ads. Twitter has some constraints. Just about everybody is constraining the ad buying. So it really has a bit of a negative impact. And the negative impact, frankly, is that the pipe got smaller, right? When you think about the same amount of ad dollars trying to come in and buy, and you squeeze those same amount of ad dollars into a smaller space, restricting the keywords that you can use, restricting the type of content that you can use in your advertisement for your services. So you have to get a little more creative and so forth. And people are going to be chasing, more dollars, chasing fewer opportunities drives prices up. It's a nature of price inflation, right? That's what inflation basically means. It's a textbook definition of it. Too many dollars chasing too few goods, or in this case, too few advertising spots. So it becomes really problematic for you, right? The cost economics of relying solely on or greatly on an advertising model is going to get worse. So the constraints also have a different challenge imposed on your business. They're making it harder for people to find you. So the things that people were searching for, some of them are just going to miss you now, right? It's not just the fact that cost went up. It's that it gets less effective to advertise, right? So you can be advertising the same type of stuff, but if the searcher, the person looking for things, the merchant, is not searching with your new language, right? You're likely not to be seen. That's a problem, right? So it's always been hit or miss. It's just now more miss than it's just a problem. So we want to change our approach. So this is a typical sales process that I heard. I spoke to many. I might have talked to a few people on this call today, but the typical process is spend a lot for ads for places like on Debanked and Google and so forth. And it's not that that's a bad strategy. It's a very good complementary strategy to have paid campaigns displaying in places or in environments in which somebody might be looking for what you sell, right? That's the whole point of advertising. We know that my target customer is here and they're looking here. Let's make sure that we present them with an offer to learn more about our services or buy more about our services. Most ISOs are also spending a ton of time on cold calls, making way more than you'd like. And frankly, nobody likes cold calls. Nobody likes making them, and nobody likes receiving them, right? It's an interruption medium. It's a pain in the butt, but here's the reality. It works. It's just a lot of work. Cold calls do work. I mean, all of us could make hundreds of thousands of cold calls in just about anything, and over time, we learn what our script looks like, and then we would learn what works, what's our response rate. And if we find out that 1 out of 100 people that I call will result in a sale, here we go. I'm going to start making hundreds and hundreds of calls. Right? I also talked to one ISO who said he spends a lot of time roaming the mall, handing out business cards, or approaching vendors in strip malls and regular old-fashioned malls, right? We go inside, and he's talking to them about their capital needs, and handing out business cards and saying, hey, if you ever need help, call me, and so forth. Spending a lot of time at Chamber of Commerce meetings and BNI, those Business Networking International meetings where everybody gets up and introduces themselves and says a good referral for me is somebody who needs to borrow money, right, or has some cash flow challenges in the business or whatever that is. So the long and the short of it is you're spending a lot of time and a lot of money. It's a big grind, and the price of acquisition is high, right? Not getting enough loans in the door as easily as we want them. Pretty simple. So let's talk about a simple strategy. As promised, if you look at the page, the landing page for this webinar, I have some promises. We have a 5-step strategy for enhancing your business using what I would call social sales, right? Social sales process. So social media to assist your sales process. So let's dig in. The first thing that kind of come to mind is, or to acknowledge, is that social media, as you see other people using it, as you see big brands using it, is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about relationships. Financial services in particular really lends itself well to relationships. Many of the ISOs I talk to have recurring merchants that work with them, merchants that are constantly renewing and doing new loans and so forth. It's not a one-time business, right? So we want to have an ongoing relationship with people, and we want them to send us business. We want to make them really happy. We want to be part of their life, part of their personal and business life, so that they send us business. There's that old saying, and I don't know who the heck it's been attributed to. I've seen it, many people attribute it to Zig Ziglar and many other people. I think I even saw one biblical reference, frankly, of people do business with those they know, like, and trust. And it's true, right? But the problem is that's not enough. You need to be familiar with a person. Meaning you need to see them frequently. And then you need to be confident that they have the ability to help you succeed, right? So what I mean by familiarity is, think about it. This actually happened to me early in my career as a financial advisor. I went to see a guy, and I'd seen him several times. He was a friend of mine, and he was the manager of a local BMW dealership. And I told him that I left Fidelity and started my own practice. And he's like, man, I wish I knew that a few weeks ago. I actually just moved my money to a new financial advisor. It would have been great to work with you. But because he hadn't seen me in a while, I lost that business. And how many times has that potentially happened to you in your practice, that somebody doesn't see you, you're not top of mind enough for them to know that they can turn to you to help solve their problems in their business? So we want to make sure we stay in touch and stay familiar with that person, top of mind. And confident. I want to feel confident that I can, listen, I can know you, like you, trust you in general, but I might not feel confident in your ability to do things. I know, like, and trust my brother-in-law, but I'm not 100% confident that he's going to help me build a new deck on the back of my house. I don't know if he has the capability of doing that. Well, using social media, we have the ability to share quality content over time that is relevant to our business and relevant to the needs of our clients, and they will know that we are on top of our game. So one of the other objections I often hear is, I don't have the time to do this. How much time is this going to take, Mike? I got to sell, I've got to make phone calls, I've got to go to meetings. How much time is this going to take out of my business? And some really interesting studies here of small businesses that as little as 6 hours a week can have a huge impact on your business. And I've actually found that to be true for myself, that what I always look at with social media is that it's a net time, a no extra time needed, right, NET type of activity, that while you're doing other things like waiting in line at the coffee shop, eating breakfast or eating lunch, you can be checking social media, engaging with social media, and creating meaningful progress for your business. And we'll talk about some of those little things to do in this 5-step process coming up here in a couple of minutes that we'll run through. But what you're seeing here is, some of these statements here that a little 6 hours a week, 66% of marketers are seeing lead generation benefits for their business. Okay. So lastly on this kind of intro thing is that one commonly overlooked value of social networks is that they are single-handedly the greatest social business intelligence tool in the history of mankind. You will know how many people work for a company. You'll know when they're hiring. You'll know when they're firing. You will know when they're growing and expanding to new locations. People, as individuals and businesses, are sharing an extraordinary amount of information on social networks. Some people might say there's an overshare, but talk about a great way for you to know a lot about a customer. Think about things like, I'll use me as an example. If you were trying to sell me, knowing that we are a basketball household, that my son plays select basketball, that we are diehard Celtics fans, that we've moved from Boston to Austin, knowing some details about me before you pick up the phone or send an email, right? Knowing as much as you can about me and my business, and all of that stuff is out there, is really powerful. When I was starting on my financial practice, some advice that I got was, never have a meeting at your office. Always try to have the meeting with a client at his or her house. One reason for that was to avoid the shoebox effect. And that shoebox effect is, oh, I have those documents. They're in a shoebox at home. Sorry, I forgot to bring those. I'll bring them next time. The other reason is, when you're in somebody's home, you can look around, you can see pictures on the wall, you get to know what their dreams, their hopes, their aspirations, the things that are important to them are, and then you can have a much more meaningful conversation about what their financial goals are. Well, the same is true for you and merchants. You can know a lot about that individual before you have a conversation. You can see how their business is doing. You can see some of the comments that customers are making on their Facebook page, for instance, whether the customers are happy or angry, or whether they like a certain menu item or whatever that is, and you can go in powerful and have a much higher chance of closing the sale by doing a little bit of investigative research before you sit down. So let's go through the 5-step process. It's really, really easy. And then once we go through this process, we'll open the floor for some questions, some Q&A. So the first thing, and it seems like no kidding obvious type of thing, is build your network. I can't tell you the number of times that I've talked to somebody who says, I tried social media marketing and it didn't work. And what they mean is they ran a Facebook ad, didn't work, and they posted a couple of things and they didn't see much. But then I look at the size of their network and they've got 90 people on LinkedIn, and they've got 150 people on Facebook, and they've got 10 people that they're following on Twitter. Well, you can build a network. And as I said earlier in this webinar, as an adult, you've met hundreds, if not thousands of people over the course of your life. They should be in your network. And most of us, listening here, on your phone or on your desk or in your Outlook, right, there's likely all sorts of contacts just lying around. On your desk, you might have a stack of business cards. I know I had, for the longest time, this giant Ziploc bag of business cards that I just never went through. The problem with them when they're in business card format is many people change jobs. Well, when they change jobs, that business card is no longer valid. That email and that phone number, if that's the only contact information you have for them, you lost them, right? On your phone, how many people on your phone are you not connected with on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and other social networks? Well, if you're serious about engaging with people online about their business and learning more about them and making sure you stay in touch with them, you need to get that out of kind of the static format and into an interactive format. So step one, build your network. Connect with a whole bunch of people. Build it robustly. If you're on LinkedIn, you should have 500 plus connections, and they should be good connections, people you've met, right? Not just random people you're adding to connections, but people you know you've had some interaction with. The second step, and this is the one that's really interesting to me, because many people will also say, like, Mike, I don't know what to say on social. Like, the reason why I don't do much on social media is I have no idea what to share. I don't know what to put out there. I can't think. I'm not a good writer. I don't know how to describe things, whatever. Don't worry about that at the beginning. Build your network and then start listening to that network. Pay attention to what they're sharing. As I mentioned, this is a way of turning cold calls into warm calls to friends. If we pay attention that you know people have kids, you know what they do on the weekends, you know a little bit about their business and what customers think about their business, you're going in with so much more information and you haven't said a thing. Pay attention to what they're sharing. They're telling you what's important to them. As you build up your network over time and you've kind of segmented it into lists of clients, prospects, referral partners, right? You start to notice some commonalities. You might find that if you look at your niche, that you service restaurants, let's say, that's where you do a lot of your business. Well, if you do a lot of business with restaurants, you might find out that restaurateurs all have some commonalities. They read similar books. They like certain specific websites. They might have some similar political views. You can go on and on down the list, and you can develop a really robust persona of the typical restaurateur that you service, and you can know a lot about them, and that'll help you in your other marketing endeavors. If I know that the typical restaurateur loves to watch Kitchen Confidential, when it comes time for me to do advertising in the future, I can do look-alike Kitchen Confidential audience someday, right, when I do my ads, right? So pay attention to what people are sharing, right? Less about you, all about them, okay? The next step is to engage when it's appropriate, right? Sometimes somebody's going to share something where stay away from it, right? Try to stay away from politics unless, hey, listen, if you're a diehard conservative or you're really, really active progressive/liberal, and you think you can build a business in that vertical of human beings, let it go. I mean, there's 1.6 billion people on Facebook, right? There's lots of them that look like you. You likely don't need 10,000 clients. You only likely need a few hundred clients that are recurring, right? That would probably be nice for your business. So if that's true, engage when appropriate. Figure out what's appropriate for you. Set your parameters, but comment, like, share, right? Retweet, share, all that type of stuff. Let people know that you hear them. Now, Facebook has done some great things as an example. It allows you to put a little heart or a smiley face or whatever now instead of just the like button, right? But acknowledge that you see people. One little bonus here, and you see this at the bottom of the screen, this is a perfect way to game the network's algorithms. Most of the networks now have an algorithm, a quick little formula, that says, hey, listen, let's show Mike, as an example, updates from people that he interacts with most, because those are the people he's obviously saying he's interested in this, right? So if Mike is interested in hanging out with Grant, and Grant is always the guy that he's chatting with and commenting with, we'll show them more stuff. We'll make sure he doesn't miss stuff from Grant. Well, you can be very targeted and strategic that way with your merchants and with your prospects. That when you've friended them and you follow them, make sure as you work down the list of merchants and prospects and referral partners that you click like a lot more on those people, that you engage with those people so that you're always showing up top of mind for them. It kind of works both ways. And then there's other types of things that happen there which you will become a suggested person to follow because of your interaction with those people, because the networks want you to grow your network. So they're telling those merchants, hey, listen, make sure you follow Mike, make sure you follow Bob because he's somebody else that you might like, right? So really, really good way to kind of, frankly, hack the system, as it were. So now comes the time to share. Notice we're at step 4 of a 5-step process, and this is the first time that we're talking about what should you publish. Now, I think many people overthink it, that it needs to be some big, profound thing. It needs to be something that really resonates. I don't think that's true. I think consistency is more key, right? Consistency works. There's a reason why commercials on TV run all the time. When you're in the car, you hear the same commercial over and over and over again. Every single time there's a commercial break, it's the same one to the point where you know the jingle by heart, right? Consistency is key. Repetition works. So let's do the same thing here on social. That doesn't mean you share the same thing over and over again, but I always follow the 80-20 rule. 80% personal, 20% business, right? Obviously, that's a little different for if you're working with your branded account or your personal account. But share stuff frequently, daily, right? Doesn't have to be anything profound. It can be a news story. It can be, what are you doing today? What did you do yesterday? What are the things you're excited for? What are you looking forward to for the weekend? And then you can use some things like news stories you read or articles that are particularly relevant to your business or, frankly, relevant to your merchant's business. And we talked about a niche before. So if you serve restaurateurs and that's your niche, well, make sure you're sharing stories about running restaurants effectively, about hiring restaurant staff, about how to get the people to buy more alcohol when they order their meal. I don't know what it is. Finding good articles that restaurateurs will appreciate and making sure that gets shared in your network, because that lends to your expertise in the field. Even though it wasn't about lending or capital needs, it shows you know their business. And again, people do business with those they know, like, and trust and think are competent in their areas of pursuit. So you just want to develop really strong relationships here, right? So stay familiar and demonstrate your subject matter expertise to your network. Real easy stuff. Last step, step 5, grow your network. Make sure you're always on the lookout for new people. A healthy network is constantly growing. So each new connection will add extra value. There's something called, it's a Metcalfes Law, and Bob Metcalfe, who he also moved from Boston to Austin. He's an entrepreneur who effectively invented the Ethernet, which made the internet as we know it possible to some extent for networking. He created a company called 3Com. Well, he created this thing called Metcalfes Law, which basically states that, listen, the network doesn't just get better when we connect two things. It gets exponentially better when we add a new connection. Right? So think about your cell phone. If you had the only cell phone out there, the only smartphone, it wouldn't be particularly useful. But as we start to add more and more cell phones, right, or like the original fax machine or the original telephone, right, whatever it is, as we add another one of those to the network, it doesn't just add, additive. It's a multiplier, exponential. It gets better and better the more people will connect, because when you add somebody to your network, you add their network to your network effectively. They're now more willing or able to send you referrals. They're more able to open access to new connections for you. They bring in new information, new ideas. They're more likely to click the share button, retweet button on what you shared, right? So grow your network. Spend some time looking for people that are relevant. Go back to the example of restaurateurs. If you're looking to connect with restaurateurs, pay attention to the feeds of who your existing clients and prospects are connected to, and look for other restaurateurs in the area that they might know. They typically hang out together, right? So do a lot of that. Grow your network that's relevant. And then occasionally use some paid campaigns to strategically attract those high-value followers. You can actually write follower campaigns that are designed to get more likes on your page, or more likes on your page on LinkedIn, or your followers on Twitter. Decide what your budget is there, but you're building your audience. Over time, the value is huge, because once we build that audience, these people are effectively have opted into your message. They're saying, I'm following you, I'm liking you and engaging with your page because I like what you have to say, I want to see more of it, so please share good quality stuff for me. That's what we want to do here. It drives the cost of acquisition way down, because instead of having to spend to communicate to a prospect, to an existing merchant that we want recurring business from, or to spend to get in front of a referral partner, we have messages that have been opted into and they will pay attention to it. Okay. Little hacks at the bottom here. Add links to your social media profiles and your email signature and your website. I'm stunned by the number of times that I go to a website and there's no, hey, follow us on Twitter, connect with us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Same thing in your email. Real easy to do, to put that URL down there. And then add your social media profiles, believe it or not, to your business cards and printed materials. Have an integrated approach. You're spending all that money on that stuff. Make sure there's an opportunity for that person to connect to you and stay connected to you for free forever, right? Don't lose that opportunity. Don't have your stuff become just stuff that goes in a circular file. Okay. This is the last slide coming up here, and then we'll just do Q&A. But for the next 30 days, right, a little 30-day challenge. Everybody loves 30-day challenge, and if you want a fun thing to do, go watch. There's a TED Talk on 30-day challenges by this guy named Matt Cutts from Google. The 30-day challenge. For the next 30 days, I want you to add connections every day, add a few people, expand your network, check social posts made by your clients, prospects, referrals, create those lists, right? Check for those types of things happening there. Like, retweet, comment, reply to 5, right? Make sure you engage with 5 posts with 5 different people in your network every day. Post a picture or video every day of something. It doesn't matter if it's a sandwich, it doesn't matter if it's a sunset, just post something. Pictures and video, people love them. We're all carrying around a full HD screen in our pocket at all times. Feed the beast, right? People love that type of stuff, so share some stuff. And then share at least one interesting news story every day. Something you read in the morning or whatever, just click share it, send it out to your network. A little pro tip for discovering really good stuff. There's 2 apps that I love. One's called Flipboard, one's called Nuzzle. Flipboard is a great little social, it pulls from all different social networks and news sources, and you can organize tiles by the topic that you're interested in, so finance, restaurants, whatever it is, right, to find relevant news, and you can click share from there. So you can, really easy, it's beautiful looking, allows you to get stuff. Nuzzle is a little different. It looks at your social network, and it pulls in stories that are resonating with your social network, so stuff that's been retweeted a lot or liked or shared by members of your network come into Nuzzle, and it makes it easy for you to kind of find like what's trending within my network. So your network should be built of highly relevant people that are meaningful to your business. If you've done that correctly, then the content that you're seeing, you'll know, hey, listen, everybody in the restaurant industry is finding this one story really interesting. Why don't I click retweet it so that I can get out in front of the rest of my network and they see that I'm interested in it too. So a really good tip there. Okay. I'm going to open up for Q&A now. I know we went a little bit longer than I thought I would with content here, but we had a little bit of a challenge with the technology at the beginning, but I hope you'll forgive us on that one. So let's go ahead into Q&A. I've got the questions open, and I've got the chat open here as well. First thing I'm going to do is launch a poll, ask you if you found the webinar useful and helpful. And by the way, you'll see my contact information here on this page. Do feel free to connect with me on Twitter and send me questions there. You can also send me an email, mike@finservmarketing.com. Happy to answer those questions. We have a good relationship with Pearl Capital, and we're looking to do this as a series, a few more webinars. So this is great. So while you guys are doing that, I'm going to take a look at questions. I don't see any questions. Let me go down to the bottom here. Let's see. You don't see any contact information, Sean, and it's not showing me when you posted this. But the contact information on the last page, I'm at Mike Langford on Twitter, so that's really easy. And I'm pretty much at Mike Langford on every social network, so if you're looking for me, you can find me pretty easily. Mike@finservmarketing.com. I also encourage you to spend some time on Pearl Capital's website. They've done a fantastic job with the content. Grant is doing an amazing job with social media. He's posting really good stuff frequently, very beneficial stuff. I love how he has branded it. The colors and the graphics are very consistent with the brand, so it's awesome. If you do have questions specific to Pearl Capital, please do reach out to Grant and team, or dial the 800 number here that's on this screen. Okay, just take a look, see if there's any other questions. All right, social media budget. Here we go. So what's a healthy budget? Okay, sorry guys, this I'm struggling with the questions here. So what's a healthy social media budget funding? It's for $1 million a month, or I'm not sure if you're using the M as 1,000. So I assume that's your revenue stream. So social media budget. So the bigger your company gets, the more clients you have, the more customers you have. You should dedicate more resources to it, right? So it may be something where you hire an in-house staff member, like a Grant, to manage social media. So whatever an FTE costs there. In terms of marketing, actual spend, it's not overly expensive. What I love about social media advertising, frankly, is that it can be very iterative in nature. And what I mean by that is you can start out with as little as $5 on Facebook and test to see if something works, right? And that's fantastic. See, like, did you get enough click-throughs? Did enough people like something or engage with something? Did it work? And then you can pour more gasoline on it. I would say at the low end, if I'm going to be feet to the fire type of thing, at the low end, if I'm going to be spending on it, so versus just doing social media activity, two separate things. I'm going to be spending money. The low end, maybe $100 a month. If you're going to start spending on some ads, that'll give you enough sample size to know whether it's working or not. Be very diligent in your targeting, though, right? So the difference between social media marketing, advertising, and Google advertising is Google advertising. You're buying keywords and you're trying to guess what somebody's searching for, right? And you're hoping that your ad will display when they search for something that meets what you're selling and what your ad says. Social media marketing is different. You're trying to get your message in front of somebody who has already expressed, I'm interested in this type of stuff, by the pages I've liked, by the content I shared, by how I've described myself in my profile. I'm interested in this type of stuff, and you're putting an ad in their stream in many cases, or sometimes in the sidebar, that should resonate with that individual based on who they are and their interests and their likes and their demographic info, like where they live and their age and their gender and all that type of jazz, right? So that's kind of the difference, and that's the thing you're trying to figure out. Another question here. Do you have a blog on this subject? Yeah, I've written several pieces on social media marketing, 1 million in funding activity. Okay, good. Thank you, Chris. I have written a lot of blogs on this topic, and we can certainly write more. If we have some, what's really great about blogs is if you ask these questions, I can go in and we can write blog posts specifically tackling some of the challenges and so forth. But you don't have to have a blog, by the way. So sometimes people ask me, do I need a blog post? Okay, I'm going to go down here. So will this webinar be available in print or to go with friends? Yes, we'll be sharing a PDF of this with people, with you guys. So absolutely, you'll be able to have the PDF, and we're going to record this. So, and I know sometimes it was choppy in this webinar, this instance, but the recorded version will be available. I'm going to launch another poll here about how did you hear about this webinar. So while I'm answering questions, you can answer that stuff. So here we go. Awesome. You're welcome, Chris. Oh, great. Thank you for sharing your email, Chris. Appreciate it. You okay to connect on LinkedIn? I am okay to connect on LinkedIn, so please do reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect with new connections. And as long as here's my thing on LinkedIn. As long as I feel like there's an opportunity for us to send each other business, meaning it would go both ways, and I feel confident introducing somebody to somebody, and I think if there's some relevance there, I'll accept a LinkedIn connection. I've found clients by accepting new people that I've never met before on LinkedIn. So the one thing that I will tell you, if you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn that you've never met, don't just use a connect and let it send the static message like, since you're somebody I trust, I want to add you to my network. Customize the message. Hey, I saw you. You look interesting. We have some friends in common, or I'm looking to expand my business into this area. I thought you'd be a really good networking connection. Love to chat with you about it or whatever. Just let the person know why you want to connect and be genuine and honest, right? Don't try to get the quick sale with them. Remember, this person is entering your network. Going up through the questions. How can it help a company in India who wants to help landers in the USA. So I assume that people in the United States, how can an Indian company work with people in the United States? Well, the internet it's the World Wide Web, right? I don't know what the advertising constraints are or the engagement constraints are. So if we're talking about advertising, I'm not sure what the constraints are with trying to buy ads from India in the United States. I don't think there are any, by the way. I know plenty of Indian companies that do business here. So many development companies in particular that do website development and app development and so forth. Many, many, many of them are based in India and are sourcing customers out of the United States. So I think you can do very well from offshore to the U.S. Just be targeted, right? So you build your network so that it's relevant. So for instance, there's some friendlies, right, here in the States. Like there's lots of Indian immigrants here in the States, and they will be great entryways into a U.S.-based network. So start friending people who you have real good access to, and then follow high-quality businesses and engage with them. Oh, what was the last tip? I'm not sure. I wish there was timestamps on this. Well, the last tip was, expand your network, right? Don't forget to keep growing your network. Don't think your network is ever static. That was Anthony AJ asking that question. Should profiles be given private or public for most effectiveness? And Grant actually asked this at Pearl Capital. That's a fantastic question, Grant. I always do public profiles, particularly on networks that are open, right? So Twitter is meant to be a public medium. If you want to have two different accounts, one for your personal group of friends and then one for your business, absolutely do it. But I always make sure that's you, right? People connect with humans way better than they connect with brands, right? People trust you. Like if you leave where you're employed now and go to another company, people will follow you there. You'll still have customers going with you. People like you. They know where you work, but they will follow you. So make sure you develop real, genuine human relationships. I say be public, and unless you really have some constraints on certain things, Facebook, for instance, has gotten really good about allowing you to post things and restrict who sees specific posts, and then allow the public to see other stuff. So just make sure you know if you're posting public or private on Facebook. But on the other two networks, make everything public is my go-to thing. You want to be discovered, right? Okay. Thank you again for the second poll there. Most people discovered us via email. And one last poll for those of you who are here still. What's the next topic you want us to cover? And I know some people have left, but we still have a good, healthy population of people still here. So we'll keep working through some of these questions. What is the best approach for adding someone on LinkedIn you've never met? Oh, I covered that one, Grant. Thank you. Should you create separate accounts for business or personal use? So the answer is yes, you should have both. Make it easy for people to find you. So if you have a business profile, absolutely have it there. And then have a personal one as well. You'll probably be more active on your personal one, and that's okay. But so as an example, you want to friend your people you have contacts with at the merchants. You want to friend them, your referral partners and your prospects, right? Connect with those people individually, and then invite them to follow your brand. So yes, have both. Having a problem advertising on Facebook, on a business page. Have paid for ads. Lots of people like the ads, but they don't choose to click Contact Us button and send us their info. Even advertise, click on the Contacts button. Okay. So this is a question from Robert. Robert's asking a question, but he's having some problems with Facebook ads. People are clicking on them, but they're not converting all the way, right? And that's true of all advertising, by the way. I'm convinced that there's people who just click on ads to drive up people's ad spend. I swear to God, there must be people out there doing that. But relatively quick solution here, and I found this to be incredibly effective over the years. Share content and invite people to come read the content. It doesn't have to be crazy long-form stuff, so you can share a photo, you can share a quick video, how your solution has helped a merchant. Share something to bring somebody into. You can do something like what we're doing here today, a webinar, right? You can invite people to attend a webinar on how to manage cash flow in a small business. I don't know, I'm making up that topic on the fly here, but people love content, right? The convert to sale offering, advertising, is much more difficult to execute. It'll work. It might just need very large numbers, but more often, what you really love to do is get people into your sales funnel. Don't try to close with the advertisement. Try to get people into that sales funnel. So try to get people to your website so that they can subscribe to your email newsletter. Try to get people to your Facebook page and get them to like the page so that they're constantly opted into your message. Those types of things are incredibly valuable for people. Now, I know we've hit the 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time, where I'm located, hour here. And I know many of you have to jump off, but I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes doing Q&A, kind of working through these things. So if you're patient, I'm patient as well. I'll probably cut it off at 3:10 Eastern, 2:10 my time. But do feel free to keep pinging with questions. If for some reason I missed your question, do not hesitate to shoot me an email or ping me via Twitter. And I'll try to answer your question as best I can. Okay. Okay, so it looks like at the end of those questions, let me get down to the bottom there, see if there's any more questions here. Okay, great question. Do you think free giveaways attract customers or they make people mad, like raffles, etc.? As a general rule, free giveaways are tricky because if you give away something for free, you're going to attract some people who just want the free stuff. Sometimes, not all, but sometimes. So what ends up happening is they waste a little bit of your time and they cost you some money. If you're going to give something away for free, I'm a big fan of finding a way to give away a free consultation or something like that. And make it a genuine consultation. Don't make it a thinly veiled sales thing, right? Like, make it a genuine, hey, we'll give you some ideas on this, or we'll give you a free copy of a book that'll help your business. Something like that, but something that's relevant to your business, that'll help the entrepreneur, help the business owner, and develop a long-term relationship with that person. Giving away, cup hold, or whatever, beer koozies or stress balls or a trip or something like that. Those are challenges. You don't always get the highest quality respondents in those nature, right? So what we're trying to do again is get people into a sales funnel, get them to say, hey, listen, I'm opting in. I have already kind of qualified myself. I'm interested in the things that you do. Very similar to what we're doing here, right? So Pro Capital is providing really great information to you in an effort to help you be more successful in the business. And there's nothing being asked of you today other than your attention. And then hopefully what we're doing here is developing a really strong relationship with you, and you know that Pro Capital has got your back and they're going to help you succeed, not just today, but in the long term with your business. Best practices for getting more followers on Twitter. Ooh, that's an awesome one, Marvin. Thank you. So follow high-quality people, like really high-quality people. Don't just go on a following binge and follow just everybody you can think of. Be very targeted. So, for instance, one of the things that I'm very interested in is angel investing and venture capital investing. It's something I do. So what I do is I've got a list. I curate that list. I'm always adding new angels and venture capitalists as they come about, and I add them to a list. On Twitter has a list feature. You can add people to lists by category. You can call the list whatever you want. So make some public lists, follow very specific people, and then interact. And when you interact, don't just try to, hey, I'm here, follow me, that type of thing. Just interact in a meaningful way. Reply to when they post questions or retweet their stuff. When you share content, make sure that it's very relevant. People use Twitter search. Twitter is a real-time search engine. Many people go on Twitter to search for what's going on or search for solutions. And so you can be targeted in the content that you share is going to attract people. So if you're talking about small business financing, right, cash flow management for small businesses and the like, help with payroll for small business, any number of things, right, short-term financing, If you're leading those types of discussions, you're going to attract relevant people. Question from Lady Pearl. How about clients outside of the United States, like in Canada and other countries? Well, absolutely. Same thing. So kind of that's the reverse of the India question we had. Can India, an Indian business, interact with people in the United States? Absolutely. I mean, the World Wide Web reaches both ways. Actually, here at FinServe Marketing, we just took on a client that's an ISO. They work in more than merchant banking, but they do a lot of different things, and they're actually based up in Montreal. So you can reach people internationally. It's actually one of the great things about it, right? Is that the internet knows no bounds, and it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you find that you have time for social media engagement at night, guess what? It's daytime someplace else. Maybe you're interacting with people during their sweet spot of activity. So you can be very active, spend some time, a couple hours at night if you want to, or 1 hour a night, whatever it is, while you're watching TV, engage, share, listen, right, and get all that type of stuff going for your business in the comfort of your own home, wearing your sweatpants if you want to. Let's see. We're into back office for land companies. So I'm going to assume that means, Amit, you're asking the question about back office. I assume that the question, Amit, is, sometimes a company is not, you don't go through the forward-facing individuals, right? The customer relationship individuals, and so you go after the people that are in the operations side of the business or whatever, or the finance piece. I think that's what you're asking, and absolutely. I mean, no network of human beings is too small. A great story that I like to tell is I went to a conference. It was a financial advisor conference once in Orlando, and I was speaking there. And then I went on the hallway, and in the same hotel complex, I saw like these pallets, like pallets that like if you go to the store, there's stuffed boxes stacked on pallets, and the forklift lists like this wooden pallet thing. There's like a display of pallets, and all these people networking and hanging out there and so forth. And there's hundreds of them. So I asked somebody, like, what's this conference all about? And they're like, well, we're in the pallet business. This is an industry event for people who create and lease and manufacture pallets. So there's networks of human beings that are into pallets. So whatever it is, however small your niche is, or how well defined the business function of the individual you typically interact with is, you will find that human on social media. And in fact, we didn't dig into this today. We probably will in future webinars. But on Facebook and LinkedIn, there's groups, and there's all sorts of affinity groups and interest groups on just about everything you can imagine. You'll find the way to connect with people wherever they are and whatever they're interested in. So it's really great for that opportunity. And again, you're mixing and mingling with people who share a common interest. They're much more likely to send you business now because of that shared interest that each of you have. Let's see, going through to see if there's anything else. Okay, I think I'm going to way down the bottom here, and I think Will Pearl Capital, this is a question from Lady Pearl. Will Pearl Capital be creating individual links for ISOs going forward? That's a great question. That's more of a question for Grant at the Pearl Capital team. And they'll be going through these questions, by the way, for things that are relevant to Pearl Capital. So I think that question will get answered. I don't know the answer to that, by the way. Let me see. Okay, and it looks like we've reached the end of the questions. Well, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend it with us today. And it was an honor to share this time with you today. I do apologize for some of the hiccups we had at the beginning. We will iron those out going forward, but it was a great time. Be on the lookout for this recording, and be on the lookout for the slide deck. You'll get that in PDF form so that you can use it and kind of consume it at your leisure. All right? Thank you very much, and have a great day.